I just wanted to tell this really quick story. My name's John Kuiper. I'm running for governor of New Hampshire. I want to tell you this really cool story that happened a couple years ago. This one of the regulars came in. He travels a lot, and he said, "Hey, have you ever made this thing called Ropa Vieja?" He's like, "It's this signature dish of Cuba." He's like, it's really good. I haven't had it in a while, and you think you could make it and put it on special?" I said, "All right, I'll look into it." So I you know, contacted a couple of my friends who are chefs. That's the first thing I do when I'm trying to figure out a new recipe. Contact the people that may have made it before. I said, "Hey, you heard of Ropa Vieja, signature dish of Cuba? Like, what's in it? Where do I start?" And the chefs that I reached out to had not heard of it at all, which is kind of unusual. So I looked up some recipes online. I saw 3 or 4 or 5 of them, and started writing my own recipe. And the way I do it is I'll look at the 5 most popular recipes, and I'll sort of feel out, what ingredients I have, what I need to get, what I don't want to use. Some of the recipes had olives in it, and I don't love olives, so I left those out. But the key ingredients were tomatoes, peppers, onions, steak, capers, very important, the capers, Italian seasoning. So it's kind of like a tomato sauce based steak and pepper dish that you slow cook, and then we would serve it over rice and beans. So I came up with this ropa vieja. It's fun to say. Try it. Ropa vieja. It means old clothes, I think, because the idea is that when the stew has kind of got the colors of the different peppers and the steak and the red of the tomatoes, and it looks like old clothes, I guess. So I made this, right? And the way that works in the restaurant is I'll make the recipe, and I'll make the first batch and maybe some of the batches after that. But eventually, my employees will be making the food. And that's really a big test of if I've written the recipe correctly, if I've trained my employees correctly to follow this recipe and to maintain the flavor of it, and be able to taste it and know that it tastes like it's supposed to. This is probably one of the most important and difficult things about owning a restaurant or operating a restaurant is replicating a menu or recipe on a menu. So anyway, we made this ropa vieja, and after we'd had it on for a couple weeks, maybe a month or so I wasn't making it really regularly anymore. The other employees were. This woman came in, and she ordered it, and she ate it, and she said, I'm Cuban. And she's like, "This is the best ropa vieja I've ever had outside of Cuba in my entire life." She's like, "This reminds me of the last time I was in Havana in 1958. She's like, "You're bringing me right back." And it blew my mind because we're talking, I've never eaten ropa vieja before. I've only read recipes and picked what I could out of that and then tasted it and made something that I thought tasted good. Another time, this Cuban guy came in, and he was like, "I heard you got ropa vieja. I want to try it." I'm like, "All right." So we got it to go, and he left. And about 20 minutes later, he comes running back, and he opens the door, and he goes, "Man, you killed it. That is the best ropa vieja." He's like, "I cannot believe how good that was. It was so authentic. It was just like my grandmother made back in Cuba." And I was like, "Man, this is maybe the greatest day of my life." Hey, I'll catch you on the flip side.